Recording in progress.
Okay. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you for joining me today, for taking the time out. So, this session is basically going to be to talk about how the changes that we mentioned in the last session is going and how you're implicating them into your daily routine. So, we're going to look at your progress and if you're having any trouble with anything. So, I know we talked about fruits and vegetables, we talked about your sodium intake, and we talked about balancing your snacks and your meals. So how would you say that you're doing with incorporating more fruits and vegetables into your diet?
For the most part, pretty good. Couple of days not as well, but today I had grapes, celery, 2 apples, and a pile of peas at dinner.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. It seems like you're incorporating more overall, even if you do kind of miss a few days, that's okay, you know. And would you say that you're feeling better, or have you noticed any changes in incorporating more into your diet like that? Anything with your fullness, or anything with your energy, or how you're feeling?
I think probably fullness. What I've been trying to do is eat the vegetables first, and then eat, a little bit of protein and maybe some additional carbs afterwards, but typically starting with the fruits and vegetables to get those in and try to help prevent me from overeating other things.
Okay, so I think that's a good change to make. It sounds like you're feeling fuller more quickly when you start with the fruits and vegetables. And you're right that might help you with the overeating that we were talking about last time as well.
Yep.
So we talked briefly about sodium and your sodium intake. Have you made a lot of progress in reducing your sodium intake?
Not a ton. I have been eating some just by eating the fruits and vegetables in place of some of the packaged crackers and stuff like that. But because of the food that's been around and the stuff that we have here to eat that will go bad, I have been eating a pretty significant quantity of ham, although it's not lunch meat, and I know it's still, like you talked about, processed, maybe not quite as much as lunch meat, but I probably could do better with that, but it hasn't been great.
Right. Well, I know that you said you aren't really doing a lot of grocery shopping, and I know you're really busy, so it can be hard to reduce it, especially when a lot of the convenient foods that we have can be pretty high in sodium. It sounds like you are reducing some just by eating more fruits and vegetables.
I think that's fair to say, but probably not near what the goal was.
Yeah, well, and that's okay too. I mean, any reduction I think is good. I think that, you're making progress in that regard anyways, and you have the knowledge. So I think that even if you aren't doing as well as you thought you would be, you're still making changes in that way. And then how are you doing with your snacks and your meal times? With balancing them and trying to keep it more regular? How is that going for you?
The balancing has been pretty decent. I will say some of the time I find myself just eating the fruit and vegetables opposed to any protein with it. That's more of a snack than the meal. Keeping a regular time was going well until this week. I on a job where people are looking for me to do things so they can keep working. And well, today I kind of forgot to eat until 9:30, so I got up at 5:15 and didn't eat till 9:30 until I realized that my stomach was growling a little bit. But last week and before it had been doing better. This week kind of fell off the wagon a little.
Okay. Well, it does sound like you're making some progress again. And I think that these kind of daily or weekly challenges are helpful because they're really making you think about it. And I think that it's good for, trying to really keep track of what you're doing. So it does sound like that you made some progress. I'm happy with that. And I think that you should be too. Let's see, and like I said, it's hard when you're busy. And you did mention that you noticed that your stomach was starting to rumble or growl and then you ate. So I think it's good that you were kind of acknowledging those hunger cues and then acting accordingly in that. So I think that those are steps in the right direction, definitely.
Okay.
And then I wanted to ask, how have you been doing with the change, and what kind of challenges are you seeing with that? I know you mentioned work. I wasn't sure if there were any other challenges or barriers to making these kinds of diet changes.
Mostly just time and, well, laziness. So, for example, last night, got home from work after a full day of work, grabbed, I think it was an apple, ate an apple, and then went back outside, working around the house, doing stuff outside. Didn't come in until pretty close to dark, and I just grabbed some of that ham I had talked about earlier for something to eat, just because of not wanting to spend the time to cook.
Okay. Can you think of any ways that you might be able to overcome those challenges, and like how you may be able to work around them?
It'd be pre-planning, before I go outside or start working on something, have something set aside. So the challenge yesterday was my wife wasn't home. She usually does the meal prep, and
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't available yesterday. So, and I know what to do. I just didn't, and I should have set something out uh, for me to be able to make quick for dinner, as opposed to just eating probably too much ham.
Okay. I think that's a great idea. I mean, setting something out like that is a good reminder too, I think. Kind of keeping it at the forefront, and then it's easier for you to grab, so it's more convenient. So I definitely think that's a good idea. Would you mind if I made a suggestion?
No, go ahead.
How would you feel about in those situations, I mean, kind of having something prepped ahead? We kind of mentioned that with setting things out, but I think that preparing more aspects of a meal might be helpful too.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was saying. Maybe I didn't communicate it clearly, but yeah, that's what I was thinking. Getting something ready so I can, just when I come in and get ready to eat, just go ahead and take care of it.
Right. Yeah. I think that kind of aspects of meal prep might be helpful there too, not even just like for the day, but if you know you're having a busy week, or you might have a day or two in the week where you're going to be really busy, it might be helpful for you to prep certain elements of food ahead of time. So you said that you had that ham cooked ahead of time, and that was something easy that you can grab. So kind of preparing meals like that, or preparing certain aspects of your meals, might be helpful too in kind of regulating your meal times and eating a little more regularly. And then when you are really busy, it would be helpful to kind of just come in and grab, or have one less thing to worry about preparing. But
Good idea.
but
Yeah, it's a good idea. I can try to do that because I knew I was going to be on my own. I just didn't.
yeah, well, it can be hard too to think about. You don't always think about it right away, so I understand that. Were there any other challenges that you wanted to talk about?
No, it's primarily just making the time to do it.
Okay. Yeah. And you mentioned prepping ahead. I think that would be really helpful. Meal prep. I know you said that your wife prepares meals, sometimes too. So if she makes a little extra so you have leftovers, that could be helpful. Or if she's preparing stuff at the beginning of the week, then you know you have that on hand.
She has been doing some extras and stuff. I didn't plan well for yesterday.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
She has been, and I've been taking some of that stuff to work with me, the extra to include vegetables and stuff.
Nice. Good. Okay, well, if you didn't have any other barriers, I'm just going to kind of summarize what we had talked about. So we talked about trying to get in 2 to 3 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. You know, looking at your concerns about snacking and your concerns about weight management. The fiber in the fruit really helps to provide volume and provide fullness, which I think you mentioned that you're already seeing some of. We also talked about reducing your sodium a little bit, kind of in looking at lower sodium options, being aware of how much sodium is in some of the snack foods or processed foods and meats that you're eating, and then looking for lower sodium options as well. And then practicing balancing your snacks and eating meals more regularly, kind of pairing a carbohydrate with a protein, fat, and fiber, and trying to regulate your meal times more by eating earlier in the evening, packing snacks or packing food ahead of time. And again, kind of helping with regulating your meals a little more, keeping things a little, excuse me, let me try that again. Trying to make sure that you're really aware of what you're eating and how you're eating it, and you know your concerns with snacking and the calories, you know, that'll kind of help with that as well. So is there anything else that you had a question about before we finish up?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I have, like you said, I have noticed I've been thinking about it more, about watching it. I'm guessing at some point it just kind of becomes second nature a little bit, so I don't have to think about it as much.
Yeah, I think that it's good that you're thinking about it and that you're aware of it. You know, I think that when you're thinking about it, you're making the effort for it, and then when you get more into the routine, then it might become more like second nature. You're right in that. So that's good to hear. But I think you made a lot of good progress. I am available if you need me or have any questions, so if you want to follow up, you know, feel free to reach out and message. But if you didn't have any other questions, then I think that's it.
No, I don't have anything else. Thank you. I appreciate your time and help.
Yeah, thank you. Again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Recording stopped.